Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to be giving you book recommendations based on some really popular TV shows. So basically this video is kind of like, if you like this TV show, then you'll really love this book because there are certain similarities between the plot or just the way the characters react and things like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Do stay tuned till the end of this video for another giveaway in our week that we are celebrating hitting 10,000 subscribers here on Fandom Newbie. So stay tuned till the end of the video for that. And yep, without further ado, let's just get started. So the first TV show that I'm going to be talking about is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was honestly like the best and the most perfect TV show ever up until season 7. Season 7 and season 8 were both kind of crappy, but it still remains in my top 5 TV shows of all time and it is just phenomenal. What I loved about Game of Thrones was the amount of political intrigue and all of the backstabbing that the characters did to each other, the twists and turns, and just how you could not predict what was going to happen, and it was just phenomenal. Now, of course, if you like Game of Thrones, the logical thing to do would be to read the book series because it is based on a book series. But if you don't want to read A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, because those books can be intimidating, I do agree with that, you can try reading the Devabar Trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. Now, the Devabar Trilogy is a trilogy, so it only has 3 books, slightly less intimidating as compared to A Song of Ice and Fire. And honestly, it has the same amount of political intrigue, twists and turns, backstabbing, and just people trying to fight to gain a throne. What makes it even more interesting is that the fantasy world in which the Devabar Trilogy is set in is Middle Eastern inspired, with creatures like jinns and ifrits and marids. It just feels closer to home. So the Devabar Trilogy follows our main character Nahari, who is a con woman and a thief living in Cairo. One day when she's kind of doing one of her cons, she accidentally summons a warrior jinn. And this warrior jinn realizes that Nahari is actually one of the last descendants of a long lost race of jinns that were once extremely powerful within the entire jinn realm. And because of that, he whisks her away to this secret city of Devabar, which has a whole lot of political turmoil, people trying to overthrow the throne, and Nahari is like thrust in the middle of all of that, and she basically has to figure out her way through this new world as well as all the complicated politics that are a part of it. And like I said, it is just extremely interesting to read, and the world building and the political intrigue is one of the best that I have read in fantasy. So definitely check it out if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, or if you're just a fan of good, well-written world building and politics in fantasy. The next show that I'm going to talk about is Gossip Girl. Now, I was obsessed with Gossip Girl when I was younger. I was completely enchanted with the extremely rich and powerful lives of these teenagers on the Upper East Side of New York City. And I loved it. I loved the scandal. I loved the drama. I loved the love triangles. It was just extremely guilty pleasure viewing and it was so much fun. Now, a book series that captures all of this like glitz and glamour of New York City, as well as what it means to be rich and powerful and the impact that money can have on you and society in general, is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Now, The Great Gatsby is of course not set in the same era as Gossip Girl. It's set in the 1920s, but it does still have the same amount of glitz and glamour, and you get a peek into the lifestyle of the extremely rich and powerful people of New York City. And it has the same amount of love triangles and scandals and just white people who are rich acting very shitty. It has all of that. So if you're into books that give you a peek into the lifestyle of the rich and famous and all of the scandals associated with them, then you might enjoy The Great Gatsby. The next TV show that I want to talk about is Stranger Things. Now, I loved season 1 of Stranger Things. I thought it was just so amazing to firstly see kids behave like kids on a TV show, and I love that it was set in the 80s because there was no technology. Kids were behaving like kids by riding their bicycles, playing board games, and just like in general behaving like how kids are supposed to behave, or at least how I behaved as a kid without technology. And I loved seeing that in a TV show, and I also loved the entire thing of the upside down world and all of the horror and supernatural aspects of Stranger Things. It was just a really fun show. Now, the creators of Stranger Things have said that they have been inspired by Stephen King as well as I think Steven Spielberg's E.T. When they were creating Stranger Things. So a book that you can read if you like Stranger Things is It by Stephen King. I haven't read that book, but the creators themselves have said that they've been inspired by Stephen King's It when they were creating this show. So I guess it has the same parallels of like kids being haunted by supernatural occurrences and how the kids try to solve it. So you can read It by Stephen King, but a book series that I have read that I love, which to me has massive Stranger Things vibes, is Fear Street by R.L. Stine. Now, Fear Street is the slightly more adult version of Goosebumps by the same author. So Goosebumps is really meant for kids between the ages of probably 8 to 11 years old, whereas Fear Street, the protagonists of this book series, become a bit older. So they're like 16, 17, 18 years old. So like the upper end of high school. And they're basically horror stories, and it's these kids who are trying to fight against demons and ghosts and other supernatural occurrences within their high school and within their little circle of friends. And it has the same vibe of Stranger Things. So if you're into horror, if you're into supernatural thriller kind of books, then definitely check out Fear Street. The next TV show that I want to talk about is one that I've recently watched and that I absolutely love, and that is Mare of Easttown. Now, this show stars Kate Winslet, and it was just one of the most intriguing and gripping thriller shows that I have watched in recent times. Another show that's very similar to Mare of Easttown that I feel that everyone should watch is Broadchurch. This one has Olivia Colman and David Tennant, and again, it is just absolutely gripping and thrilling. Both Mare of Easttown and Broadchurch are very character focused thrillers. So while there is like a murder mystery aspect of this entire show, what it really focuses on is the relationships as well as the inner turmoil of all of these people living in small towns. So Broadchurch is set in a small town in, I think, Scotland, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in England, whereas Mare of Easttown is like small town America. And it deals with the issues that these people face in terms of their relationships with their partners or kids, and also like hard-hitting topics like sexual abuse or drug abuse or alcoholism. And it explores these things in such a nuanced and amazing way, along with the thriller aspect of solving a murder mystery. Now, a book that is exactly like this, which covers extremely hard-hitting topics like alcoholism, drug abuse, as well as sexual and physical abuse, along with a murder mystery aspect, is Sadie by Courtney Summers. This book was so powerful, was so impactful, and was just so beautifully written. Like, I cannot explain how amazing this book is. So this book actually follows two storylines. One follows the main character Sadie, who has run away from home, and she's trying to basically catch the murderer who killed her little sister. And the second storyline follows this podcast that is kind of doing a true crime podcast show, trying to figure out where Sadie disappeared to, because she runs away from home and she disappears. So those are the two storylines that you see, and the book kind of cuts between these two storylines. So you see what Sadie is doing, and you also see what the podcast is investigating, trying to figure out where Sadie went. Through both the storylines, different elements of these characters' past stories and their relationship dynamics, everything gets divulged, and it's just an emotional roller coaster, and I love this book so much. So I highly recommend Sadie by Courtney Summers if you're into thrillers which also cover quite like hard-hitting topics. The next show that I want to talk about is Money Heist. Now, this show is one that I think got all of us through the pandemic. Like the first lockdown which happened last year, I feel everyone was obsessed with Money Heist and everyone was watching it, and I can really understand why, because it's a great show for like escapism, and it's a great show to binge watch because there is so much drama and action, and just the whole thing of these bunch of characters coming together to pull off a heist that is just kind of impossible, and to see how they pull it off and what happens because of that is something that I feel everyone loves to watch. Ever since Ocean's 11, for that matter, everyone has loved to watch a good heist drama, and Money Heist was exactly like that. Speaking of heists, I think you know which book I'm going to recommend because I've spoken about it a million times on my channel, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Six of Crows is just the perfect heist novel. It is exactly like Money Heist, which is a bunch of misfit criminals coming together to pull off an impossible heist. Add to that an amazing fantasy world and some great characters with amazing backstories that will keep you hooked, and you will get the most perfect book ever to be written. You guys know this, I'm a huge fan of Six of Crows, and if you haven't read Six of Crows yet, what are you doing? Pick it up right now and read it. I guarantee you, you will have an amazing time reading this book. So pick it up, do it now, read Six of Crows. The next show that I want to talk about is Making a Murderer. Now this is a documentary that follows a police investigation where two people are charged and they are arrested for the murder of a young photographer. Now through the documentary, it kind of shows how these two people have been set up and how they have been falsely accused of that crime. And honestly, this show was just the most shocking and just the most hard-hitting documentary that I have ever watched. To see how these men get manipulated and to see how it's highly plausible that they could have been falsely accused of the crime was just like, I was just like this throughout the entire show, just like, that's it. I was just shocked while watching this documentary, and it was just absolutely crazy. And a book that kind of covers this topic is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Now this also follows a crime in which this person has been charged and this person has been found guilty. But there is a high chance that he didn't actually commit that crime. He didn't actually commit the murder. And it basically follows our main character, Pippa, who has chosen this case as her final year thesis project, and she basically goes back and investigates the entire case, talks to witnesses and gathers their testimonies and tries to prove that this person who has been convicted of the crime was actually innocent. And there were just so many parallels drawn as to kind of the biases that police have when they're investigating certain murders, whether it's biases because of race or biases because of the strata of society that these people belong to. I don't know, there are just so many parallels between Making a Murderer and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder that I think if you really enjoyed that true crime documentary show, you will really enjoy A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because it tackles the same issue. And the last show that I want to talk about is Rick and Morty. So recently, my husband and I have been obsessed with Rick and Morty. We have been watching season 5, which is just come out, and we absolutely love it. So Rick and Morty basically follows an alcoholic grandpa and his teenage grandson who's 14 years old as they go off on space adventures, traveling through parallel dimensions, traveling to different planets, and just going on extremely crazy space adventures. And the thing about Rick and Morty is that it is just completely absurd. There is no logic to Rick and Morty. There is no sense to Rick and Morty. It is just absolutely absurd. But within its absurdity, there are a lot of metaphors and parallels that you can draw to real life and real things in politics and society that are happening right now, that it just blows your mind. The writing is just absolutely insane. It's just insane. There's no other word for it. It is absurd, it is insane, it is illogical. But if you really just peel away the layers, it is just one of the best written shows ever. It is filled with metaphors, filled with puns, and it is just so intelligently written that it just leaves me mind blown. I have no other words for it. It is just absolutely absolutely phenomenal. And a book that I've read which is very similar to Rick and Morty is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I've spoken about this book again a lot of times on my channel. It is one of my favorite books, and it has the same amount of absurdity and insaneness of Rick and Morty. It's not as absurd and insane as Rick and Morty, but it has that kind of like craziness happening in space. But there's just something about it that talks about like humanity and how humans behave that makes it slightly relatable, but also so much fun because it's basically a bunch of characters having adventures in space and exploring planets. So yeah, check out Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because it is extremely funny, extremely witty, and just completely absurd. So yeah, those were my recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And now coming to the giveaway. So the two books that I'm going to be giving away are Sadie by Courtney Summers and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. So if you want to participate in the giveaway, then again, there are two rules. One is that you have to be subscribed to my channel, and the second one is leave a comment down below letting me know which book you would like to win, and also let me know which is your favorite TV show and why. And of course, leave either a link to your Instagram page or some way to contact you so that I can get in touch with you when I announce the giveaway winners. So yeah, those are the rules. I'll leave them in the description box as well for you guys to know what the rules are for the giveaway. This giveaway is only open to people residing in India. It's not a worldwide giveaway, only for people residing in India. So yeah, details will be in the description. You guys can check it out. And yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book-related videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.